Thank you, Jill. Like Jill said, I'm Jason Dennis. I go by JD. I'm the landscaping manager here at the Hyatt. I've been here for about a year and a half. I'd like to start with a quote. Small kind quote. It says, "Only a master teaches you unlearning." I'm not saying I'm a master. What I'm saying is a story about 3 or 4 years ago when Jill and I and others started to work together on doing these pilot projects we had like 18 or 19 shoreline projects, plus other Keopolani and a couple other turf projects. And the idea was to go into hotels like Hyatt. And Hyatt was actually one of the hotels that we consulted with. We said, give us your best, your most important impact zone. Give us a zone that's basically not working for you. I can't get something to grow here, or other challenge zones. And so the idea at that time, based on Reef-Friendly Landscaping, was for landscapers and managers like myself in this position to stop using pesticides, herbicides, and synthetics. We did, like I said, 18 of these pilots, and they all worked. And our solution was cheaper, faster, better, healthier, had more longevity, but no one pulled the trigger. So it was really weird. It was like, why? And it wasn't really until I got into this position in the Hyatt I found out why. Because it was like the GM was on board, the higher ups were on board, but then when they turned to their existing landscape manager and said, "Hey, should we do this?" They're like, "Nah, we're good." The conversation stopped there. So it's kind of like, so we have to, so hence the quote, like we have to like unlearn these ways. So there's really 2 ways, and I'll get into the design piece, but really there's 2 ways. There is an addictive way, and then there is a natural way. And so how do I take regenerative farming practices? Because I've been a farmer landscaper on Maui for about 12, 13 years. So I've farmed and I've grew plants in many, many ways. And I've learned through many great teachers. 3 or 4 years ago, I went into the depths of soil biology. So you saw a slide up there earlier that Jill presented and had the soil food web. I'm what's a soil food web certified person. Dr. Elaine Ingham would be the master in this that I learned from. So how do we take those ways and those methods and those practices, and how do we apply them to a hotel where you got people, you have, at this place we have animals, you have all kinds of different variables, you've got budgets, you have like 30 bosses that want a bunch of things, you have people coming to Maui that want certain things, so what do we give them? What we give them is we give them the truth. To continue that story, so we have 13 guys that I manage, all Filipino. Actually, one Parao, one Haole, including myself. And this guy was a chemical applicator. That was his job. Like for the union, it says chemical applicator. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey man, congratulations. You're no longer a chemical applicator. Actually, I'm going to give you a cape. You can now be a hero." And this guy's like, "I've been spraying Roundup since the 80s. And I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like he was like really proud of it. I was really proud. If there was pest and disease, I kill him. Like it was like, it's in him. So where I'm going is like, when you talk to the layman person and you want to grow a garden, the first thing they're going to do is go, "I want to go to Home Depot or I'm going to go to Lowe's." And I'm saying 90% of our goods are imported, and you want to go, are you be a part of that cycle? Or should you learn how to make your own soil and create your own soil fertility and protect? So that's kind of like, that's the flag that I'm waving in myself, and I work with homeowners, but now I have a 40-acre property on the shoreline that has a lot of visibility. How can I make impact here? So that's my kuleana, if you will. So this section that Jill asked me to talk about is design. So I inherited, obviously I didn't design the hotel and design the landscape, but about a year and a half ago, I inherited this property. And as I was walking around, I'm like, wow, this place is really dehydrated. So what's the history of this place? There was construction a long time ago. So now we have compaction, more compaction. We live on a volcano. You mentioned the clay particle. Like our clay particle in a volcanic soil is more apt for compaction. So there's less oxygen opportunity in our soil. So increased challenges. So kind of knowing your container, or knowing what you're getting, or knowing what you're going into. Basically, you're a doctor. Like, how sick is this patient? So I saw they were very dehydrated. I got to look at the budget. I got to see how much we were spending on tree replacements all the time. I'm like, wow, that's a nice luxury. And then I got to see, like I was mentioning with people and bosses, I got to mention all the different influences. So that was very important. So I had I had the Maui guest, I had the people of, like I said, my higher ups, and then I had my own guys. Everyone has their own opinions on how it works. So my job is really tricky. I'm serving a lot of different people, but ultimately I'm serving 3 people. I'm serving the earth. It's not really a person, but I'm serving the earth. I'm serving my local community, and I'm serving my employees. And in a certain way, I'm serving my guests, the guests of the hotel. I mentioned hydration. So the 3 pieces I would kind of like encapsulate in terms of design is hydrating my soil is number 1. Water management. If it rains, I have plenty of irrigation, but how do I keep the moisture in the soil? That's like number 1. Then I have kind of knowing my container, knowing my parameters, knowing what I'm dealing with, knowing the current ecosystem that I'm going into. We had like 3 native plants on our property. I'm like, wow, we live in Hawaii. This is a beautiful hotel, but like none of these plants are like native. So also part of my kuleana is to increase the natives by like, I don't even know the percentage, but a lot. And my sales and marketing team's on board. They're all on board because it helps for them to tell a story. And it's also to be just congruent with who we are and where we're at. And then obviously, those plants probably will do better than if I brought something in from another ecosystem. So macro, micro, yes. So I'll leave it at that. And then the other piece is like knowing your, I called it like just self-confidence in what you're doing. Did I go into YouTube and just like look at something? Okay, now I know what I'm doing. Or have I cut my teeth? Have I been doing this a long time? Have I been putting in a lot of hard work? Have I been listening and learning? Have I been observing? So those are kind of my 3 pillars in terms of design: water, self, and then knowing kind of existing environment. Any questions there? No. Okay. So going a little bit deeper into what I'm planning and what I'm doing. So for example, case study. I have maybe like 7 or 8 micro zones within my 40 acres, right? I have the parking lot in the back for my employees that was just all grass and some shower trees. And then I have a variety of other things. The chef's garden was 3 little beds with like some tomato, some cucumber, and maybe some Hawaiian chili pepper. And that zone was so overgrown and so dank, and it had mold. There's animals in there, so there's like animal feathers and animal feces. So who knows the pathogens that are kind of happening in that zone. I have some animals that are like in cages. So I have a lot of different variables that I'm playing with. So what do I bring in and how do I do it? Each zone is going to tell me, like Uncle was sharing, each zone, kind of like even the Hyatts from my Hawaii, I have like, 9 little ahupua'a. So each one's going to have a story. Each one is going to have its own contour. So how am I holding water in that zone? I mean, I watch our irrigation, and when I first got here and continue to, the amount of runoff is dumb. So the same methods and same ways apply even for even if I had a small little garden, the same practices apply. We use a lot of plants. We mentioned vetiver grass. I use a lot of vetiver here and other plants that help me with controlling my edges. So I look at this as like a coloring book. You go to color, like you do the little outline and then you do the big stuff. So I'm using plants as part of a lot of perennials as my infrastructure. So my borders, and I'm controlling my edges, and I'm helping actually my employees to define zones a little bit better. And then visually, if I'm a hotel guest and I'm walking around, I can see exactly what that is. Certain things don't bleed. So again, I'm understanding my audience, understanding the presentation that I have to do. This is not a farm up country. This is a 5-star hotel. So just little different pieces applied in a different way. Like I said, a big part is growing natives. We propagate the majority of our own plants on property. I have, like I said, I got employees that are Filipino and they love to grow food and they love to grow just like me. So I'm like, awesome. So whereas before I got here, we were buying like everything. I was like, wow, we're just like buying. I'm like, we want to be more participatory. So we propagate our own stuff. We make our own soil. We take our own waste food scraps, feed it to our worms. We may have our own vermicomposting. We make our own inoculants. We just kind of take care of ourselves the best way we can. So we're like becoming this example of the way that it could be or should be, or just another way, just being a little bit more pono. Let's just put it that way. For a hotel. What else did I want to cover? Sunlight. Obviously, you have to have sunlight, right? So we're playing with sun. So back to the microclimates. Back to the chef's garden. Obviously, I'm integrating food into my landscape. So now I have a little bit of a different dimension. So yield of food and pests on my food is a thing, versus if I had some lantana, like whatever, right? The lantana is the lantana. It's more hardy. It can hang, but this one has more of a consequence. So I'm growing vertically to create shade, to create microclimates, because obviously I have the sun baking and evaporating. I have the offshore wind hammering everything. And then I have the ocean. So I have this brackish environment. Certain things do really well. Certain things don't. So I'm just playing with kind of what I've been given. I like to grow food. Back to this design. The employee parking lot has shower trees and grass. So I'm taking out all the grass and we're just planting food. Employees got to eat. We got 800 and some employees. Like, why are we going to the store? Like, let's just grow the food. Everyone likes to grow food. So now people just get to walk back to their car and go harvest bele or harvest kalo or harvest whatever. And then in our cafeteria, they harvest it and we eat it in the same day, like all the time. So it's our own little world, it's our own little microclimate, but we're kind of doing the best we can. And I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but it comes back to the human interaction with the plant and the land. And that's really, really what matters to me. Edges. Nutrient cycling. So we talked about synthetics and fertilizers. We use all waste products from, I got tree trimmers from all over. I make phone calls. They're like, hey, I got wood chip. Can I come dump? I'm like, yes, you may. Come dump at my place. So I'm taking all waste from tree trimmers, obviously from our kitchen. I have worms. My greens to make my compost. I got plenty of greens. I got guys cutting and pruning all the time. So I'm harvesting greens. I'm harvesting wood chip. I'm harvesting manure from local 2 or 3 farms where I get cow manure or I get pig, cow or pig is what I get, or actually I'm sorry, horse or pig, and that's what I make my compost out of. And then I'm teaching people how to do that. That's really the kind of the engine, if you will. So you have the plants are really, really important. They have to belong to this space, but then you have to have the matching life to actually make them thrive. Any questions thus far? Yes, ma'am.
Are there certain areas on the property where water gathers, and what have you done to leverage that, I guess?
Where water gathers, so a low spot where there's a lot of compaction. So how have I relieved compaction? Drill holes. So here, a great example. So our lobby. I come to find out my lobby has no drainage. Okay, so now I'm just like, if I water too much, then it's just gonna pool up, and I got stagnation, and then I have all this pest and I have all this disease, and I'm going like, why? Then I'm asking my guys, and no one really knows. Everyone's like kind of doing one of those things, but in this case, there's no drainage. So now I'm playing with, I'm basically drilling holes I have like a little small kind of auger, and I have my guys like, I'm just poking holes. So I'm just playing with evaporation is really all I'm doing. Or the plant is absorbing, or if I add a layer of wood chip, or if I add a layer of any kind of mulch, it'll absorb it. It's almost like I'm in like an aquaponics kind of scene. That's specific to the lobby and water management. In other zones where it's just like where it's earth and it's clay, again, I'm gonna add oxygen by either drilling a hole, digging a hole, or poking holes because the life needs to breathe, and then I'm inoculating. I'm adding the microbes, and then the microbes do the majority of the work. They're gonna help to maintain those pukas in the soil and actually make it more sponge-like and hold water. So in the first 6 months, I've saved us 20% on our irrigation savings. They were just like, wait, what? And how that looks is, hey boss, can you turn the water down in this zone because it's too wet? Or hey boss, can you turn the water down because the grass is growing too fast? Those are pretty cool problems to have. The biochar is actually a really good solution. You have your char and you have your inoculants, and you put them together, and that's what's called biochar. So char alone is just an apartment complex, like Jill said. It's just a house. But then when you add your microbiology, then they're basically there to stay, because the char has a structure that I don't think it ever breaks. I don't want to say ever, but it takes a really, 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 really long time to break down. So it's a good holder, if you will. Yes.
Since you're talking about water, I got a question about the R1 situation that's going to be coming up.
Yep.
Are you just going to be adding your bio and your chars additional to what you're doing now?
So we have R1 recycled reclaimed water for our irrigation, specific for Hyatt, in the parking lots and in like we'll call them zone permaculture speak, like zone 4, zone 5. Very little to any human path or walking by.
So there's no really any changes.
So here, it's all domestic. So there's no, in terms of harm.
In the future, it'll happen. You know what's going on.
Yes. Yep.
So I'm just asking, what are your plans in the changes coming up?
It's probably above my pay grade. I know for me, creating a clean soil is kind of increasing the biodiversity is all that what I can do. I don't know if that answers your question. I don't know if I understood your question, actually.
Yeah, well, the changes, your property will become R1 water in the future, because Marriott is going to be R1 water for the landscape in the future.
Yeah, so we're already that.
Oh, you are on the property?
I got like 3, in and around the hotel is domestic, but in the other 20 acres, that's all R1. So we're already kind of, because really what we're doing is with our irrigations, we're tied into the Kaanapali Gulf. So you mentioned biobarrier. So this golf course puts a tremendous amount of unmentionables on their turf. So
I'd like to connect me with them or start getting their ears on.
yeah, this is a long game. This is just like this is maybe this is a long game because there's a lot of momentum with golf and ways of doing stuff. I feel good about being the protector of the reef, like kind of like in this area. So like I got 3 guys and we're spraying every day. We're spraying our cocos, we're spraying our monkey pods, we're spraying our turf, we spray our animals. You name it, we spray it. If people walk by, we spray them. No, we don't spray them.
With the inoculant.
Yes. When I say spray, I'm saying we're adding good biology. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Jason, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Water, you're talking about the R1 water now it's up to it. Are you testing any of that to see what's in the water, and then even when you're doing a compost tea?
I use domestic water for my compost tea, and then I use other.
And that's irrigation water. That's the reclaimed water.
That's not reclaimed.
Okay.
Domestic is like you can drink it.
Because that would be, kind of to tie off of what he's asking.
Yeah, because they're requiring us to utilize R1 in our landscaping.
But in the R1 too, there's going to be however they reclaim that, right? They're adding chemicals into that, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So question being, right, is like one of the things with synthetic pesticides and fertilizers, there's that salt buildup.
Yes.
So I would just assume, again, I don't know, I'm just asking the question, when they're doing that reclaimed water, adding the chemicals inside of that, when you start to mix in composting that stuff, like the reaction is going to start happening with that, and then even the reaction with salt buildup.
It's an arm wrestling match at that point. Meaning, the good biology or the effective microbes will outcompete negative pathogens.
That's the whole premise, right?
Well, I mean that's just the way it works. There's a case study of a Komodo dragon in Seattle Zoo where, the caretakers couldn't go into the zone because the pathogen count was so high. Then they started spraying compost tea on the dragon and in there. Now they can go in there without a suit, and they can just go and like drop their food or do whatever care they can do, and then they can walk out because the effective microbes can and that's why I use the term arm wrestle is because in time it will outcompete the negative, if you will.
So question on that too, sorry. Would that be something possibly that maybe, it's interesting enough, I actually was surfing with one of the guys who's in the county of Maui in the reclaimed water stuff. And he was even mentioning just some interesting stuff, but would that be something potentially that they could maybe look at to treating the water?
Okay, this is a beautiful parlay. So have you heard of Genki balls? Anybody heard of Genki balls? Olivai River, Oahu. Now it's like so before Hawaii, like this is an old Japanese horticulturalist that basically got herbicide poisoning because that's how he managed his plants. He learned the benefits of effective microbes through healing himself, and then saw the same impact on his plants. Then I'm sure he did a bunch of other things too, but then he came up with these Genki balls, which is basically clay, molasses, effective microbes, EM1, which is 2 bacteria and 1 yeast, I think. 2 bacteria and 1 yeast, and then bran, whatever. And they make these like little meatballs. And like little kids come and they make these little meatballs. They make thousands and thousands of them, and they get to learn about biology and learn about the Aina and all this. And then it sits in the sun and it cures for 2 weeks. It ferments, and then you can take that ball and you can throw it into any water source, brackish or fresh. And with the Olivai Canal, they're like at 300,000 Genki balls. They have like all these events. There's tons of momentum, and they're cleaning waterways with this biology. I went down that path. I looked at this. If you go to Japan, Poland, Europe, to your point, they're using that same solution in these water management systems, water cleaning, water, whatever that world is, let's call it water management, cleaning. So yes, they're in other countries, they're using biology to manage the cleanliness of water. They're bathing in it.
So it's potentially something our county could start doing to treat the.
Back to remember my first, it's about unlearning. So that's why it's the long game. So is it possible? Is it working? Is it being used today? Absolutely. Got to talk to the right people, got to do the tests, got to go through all that. But it's obviously worth it because we're worth it. So yes, it is being used at scale, not just to throw in a little river, which is huge and important because then because if I'm a 7-year-old kid or a 13-year-old kid or 20, whatever, and I'm coming into this planet going, oh shit, this is not good. And I got no hope. Well, guess what? And I got hope in a ball. And I got hope when I go work and when I go bust my you-know-what and I go, I go process deer and I can see the connection and I can trade food. It's okay, getting out of these just different systems. So anyway, long-winded.
I was going to say with R1 water too, it's meant to be, all of the harmful pathogens are meant to be treated out, and the R1 is more nutrient rich, right? So you shouldn't have the issue of harmful pathogens. It shouldn't. So that requires our wastewater treatment plants to upgrade their treatment facilities to get those pathogens out, and then we can utilize it. I don't think those upgrades have happened yet, but with the higher nutrients in that water, it should work well with the microbes.
It works for us. It works just fine.
I was just reading in Hawaii, R1 is treated through filtration, and then they either use chlorination or UV light. Yes. So if we went more the UV light way, that could be, at least you're not adding that chlorination.
Yep.
Is your go-to inoculant compost tea then, right?
Say it again?
Is your go-to inoculant the compost tea?
Yeah, it has, yes, the short answer is yes. I'm creating 4 key microbes in my compost. Bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and nematodes. It's the foundation. It's that first domino for life to go.
You mentioned that in your position, the thing that made it maybe take off here at the Hyatt where it hasn't in the past is that it's exactly in that key position where it would sometimes fail, the landscape design manager. Yeah,
I had to be. It didn't have to be this way, but it just turned out I jumped in and I said, I basically said, if you're going to hire me, we're doing this. It was kind of, because I'm going to come in and do it the other way. You kind of get this package. So from a Hyatt perspective, they're like, dude, we talk about sustainability all the time. You're perfect. So it was just a nice match.
So speaking to the higher ups is really easy. How was it speaking to the people who are on the ground and asking them to change their ways? What were...
kind of like I was explained earlier, my chemical applicator, he was just like, no, dude, I spray Roundup. So you're just talking to the wall. It's okay, well, then it's okay, I'm the boss. No, you don't. Oh, and guess what? I don't buy it. So where are you going to get it?
You also got rid of.
Well, that was easy. Jill's like, do you have proof that you guys don't use it? I'm like, okay, how about this? In the garbage. Yeah. And then I just have grown food in this way. Back to the confidence, I've just cut my teeth. I've watched it. I watch people walk on the grass and I watch kind of what it does and why are weeds popping up? Instead of going, oh, let's zap the weed. It's no, why is that happening? So to answer your question, there's a lot of education, over and over and over. Because these could be new concepts. These are old concepts, but sort of being relearned.
No, resistance to change is a big thing that kind of falls apart. A lot of times when you're trying to implement new systems, especially in a big organization like this.
Lowe's, Home Depot. How much, if you drive by there's just stacks stacks of soil. I go, this big ball that we're living on has everything we need right there. So why am I buying it from over there? So that's part of my job, is to go like, you can extract everything you need that's right below your feet.
Like working with JD on the test pods, and then him like learning about this new role here, I was like, yes! I was like, we got someone good, you know, working in the hotel.
On the inside.
Start to change, and I think that that's what it takes. It's just, I mean, one person can have such a huge impact, like managing 40 acres along a very prominent coastline here, and then learning, the next part is like dealing with erosion, right? Which I think everyone's facing
Yep.
here.
Yeah, I mean, like just losing water. It's like, whoa. Maybe it's not precious enough. Got to learn the hard. We got to feel some pain, I think. Unfortunately.
I think they're feeling it right now.
Yep. And we'll continue to feel it until, I mean, it's like life is pretty simple until we change, then hurts a little bit. Any questions? I know it's supposed to be about design. I'm sorry, like my passion goes all over the map, but it's all design.